Okay, here's our first official guitar lesson. I'm just going to go over the basics. This is for newbies to guitar. Maybe you've been playing a week, maybe you've been playing a month, maybe you've been playing 2 months. This is kind of the very basics. So if you're more advanced, you can skip over this one and check out one of the other videos. Here's a concept though that everybody needs to do, and that's make sure you're in tune. Before I start any performance, before I start any worship service, I turn on my tuner here. Thankfully, these tuners are really cheap nowadays, and you should go out and buy one or download an app. Always be in tune. I know too many really good guitarists that don't take the time to tune up, and they're shooting themselves in the foot. So always tune. Okay, got a basic acoustic guitar here. This works for electric too. I'm just going to go over some basic left-hand rules. If you've never played guitar before, we number our fingers this way. Your index is number 1, your middle is 2, your ring is 3, your pinky is 4. And as far as the guitar goes, you got 6 strings. String number 1 is the skinny guy down here by the floor. String 6 is up by the ceiling. This is the nut. And then after the nut, you have fret number 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't confuse the nut. 4 fret. Now, we change notes by putting our finger behind different frets and shortening the string. We're basic chording. You really only need to stay in the first 3 or 4 frets. Okay, when we get more advanced, we'll get into what are called bar chords. But for right now, we just need to put the correct finger on the correct string on the correct fret. There are going to be 3 basic rules. Whenever you're playing a note, be it a solo or it's a note in a chord, always make sure you use good fingering. So 3 fingering rules for the left hand. Number 1 is play as close behind the fret. And behind is the nut side of the fret. Okay, so as close behind the fret as you can without being on top of it. If I'm on top of it, it's going to be muted. It's not going to sound so good. And if I'm too far behind the fret, it's going to be buzzy, or maybe it's not going to come out at all. So the sweet spot is right behind the fret. You can hear how it cleaned up really nicely when I got right behind the fret. And that's true whether I'm way up here on the neck or I'm way down here. Now the second rule is play on the very tips of your fingers. Okay? If you flop your fingers over, you're going to bump into some strings and then they're not going to ring out. So arch your fingers as much as possible. And then the third rule is press hard enough. Too many people in the beginning just don't put enough oomph into it, okay? So make sure you're pressing hard enough. It's easier on electric than acoustic. Your guitar might also need a setup. If the strings are too high, bring it into a local shop and have it worked on, and it should play relatively easy. Now, if you've never played guitar before, your fingertips are going to get sore for 3-4 weeks. After that, it should feel pretty good. Okay, so you're going to develop some calluses on the tips of your fingers. So if I follow those 3 rules, I can start building chords. There's tons of great resources online. Just go to YouTube. You will find umpteen people running you through basic chords, and there's lots of charts and everything. Normally I'd give you a bunch of handouts during camp, but I'm just going to step through the basic chords that you'd want to know. Now there's gazillions of chords, and if you were doing jazz, you would know all these really funky, complex chords like G sharp minor 7 and B flat 13, and you don't need to know that. Most praise worship stuff is pretty basic. In fact, most songs are pretty basic. A lot of songs are just 3 or 4 chords. So I'm going to start you with an A chord, a basic A chord. I like to do with fingers 2 and 3 and 4. 2 on the 4th string 2nd fret, 3 on the 3rd string 2nd fret, and I like to use my pinky on the 2nd string. Now, a lot of books, a lot of people online are going to say fingers 1, 2, and 3. That is okay, but what I found is that it pushes my first finger back too far, and then I don't get a good note out. If I substitute my 2nd finger for my 1st finger, and then put my 3rd finger and pinky down, I can squish them all closer behind the fret, and it just comes out better. We play 5 strings with the A chord, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay? You notice my thumb. I'm muting the 6th string. that might be a little complex in the beginning, but once the rest of the chord starts playing well, mute that low string, okay? If it's not in there, it'll sound better, okay? This is a safety net, and you'll almost always see me muting a low string, the 6th string usually, if it's not supposed to be part of the chord. So that's an A chord. I'm going to skip the B because that's a more complex chord. C. C is 3rd finger on the 5th string, 3rd fret, 2nd finger on the 4th string, 2nd fret, and then we have the 1st finger on the 2nd string, 1st fret. You do 5 strings. D. I'm going to kind of whip through these here, and then I'm going to give you a few more general pointers on how to practice chords. So D, 1st finger, 3rd string, 2nd fret, 3rd finger, 2nd string, 3rd fret, 2nd finger, 1st string, 2nd fret. You go 4, 3, 2, 1. We don't want to play 5 or 6. E, you do play all 6. 2nd finger on the 5th string, 2nd fret, 3rd finger, 4th string, 2nd fret, 1st finger, 3rd string, 1st fret. All 6 strings. Often that's one of the easiest chords for beginners. I'm going to skip F because that's more complex, and then G. Now, if you're just starting out, you'll see this all the time with fingers 2, 1, and 3. It's easier, but I would recommend you start with 3rd finger on the 6th string, 3rd fret, 2nd finger on the 5th string, 2nd fret, and pinky on the 1st string, 3rd fret. Now, your pinkies are going to be really wimpy when you first start, so this might be hard. It took me a few months before I felt good at this, so it will take some time. But you'll have to trust me. It'll give you more options down the road, and it will help you change quicker, particularly to a C chord, because the bottom part of a G and the bottom part of a C are the same, fingers 3 and 2. And so you can get a really quick change that way. If you use fingers 1, 2, and 3, you got to lift everybody up and reconfigure. And when you start playing faster, then it's going to be a bit of a problem. Also, as you get more advanced, you can do some cool things with this 1st finger. Things like that, that if I'm fingering G with 2 and 1 and 3, I can't do. Now, those are major chords. Those are the happy chords. Minor chords are the sad chords. Here's an A minor. It actually looks just like an E. 2nd finger, 4th string, 2nd fret, 3rd finger, 3rd string, 2nd fret, 1st finger, 2nd string, 1st fret. 5 strings. I'm going to give you a simple B minor. B minor is typically what we call a bar chord, but you can get away with doing this. 1st finger, 1st string, 2nd fret, 2nd finger, 2nd string, 3rd fret, 3rd finger on the 4th string, 4th fret, and pinky next to it on the 3rd string, 4th fret. Only 4 strings, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, that's going to be a little more complex, but you will see B minor in a lot of songs. D minor would be the next common minor you'd do. 2nd finger, 3rd string, 2nd fret, 3rd finger, 2nd string, 3rd fret, 1st finger, 1st string, 1st fret, 4, 3, 2, 1. E minor, easy. Make an E, no 1st finger. And really that's it for minors. The others you don't have to worry about. Sometimes you'll see 7 chords. 7th chords sound bluesy. If you see a 7, just play a major instead for right now. Perfectly fine. So those are my basic thoughts about basic left-hand chords, or how to finger them. Now, as far as practicing them, what I would do initially is make a chord, troubleshoot it, make sure all your notes are coming out cleanly. If something isn't, go back to those 3 left-hand rules. Am I on top of the fret? Am I too far behind the fret? Is another finger leaning over and muting that string? Am I not pressing hard enough? Ask yourself those questions. And it's like riding a bike for the first time when you're a little kid. It'll take a while. Probably longer than learning how to ride a bike. It took me sometimes weeks, if not months, to get really good at some of these chords. And honestly, it took me half a year, 2 years, before I could just really whip around on the guitar. So be realistic. Now, once I can get all those notes out, take your fingers away, neutral position, think about where each finger goes before you actually make your move. plop your fingers down. Here's your chord. Take the fingers away and just focus on that one chord. Off, on, off, on. Same thing with other chords. And then when you find two chords that you know are used commonly in a song, like A and D, let's say, make your A. Think about where your fingers need to go to get to the D chord. Visualize it before you make your move. Make your move. If it didn't come out right, double check things. You can strum a few times. You can strum once. It really doesn't matter. Whatever is going to be more fun for you. And then think about, what do I need to do to go back to A? And spend your time just on those two chords. Maybe for a couple minutes, maybe for 5 or 10 minutes, depends what your patience level is. But just focus on that. And then when you're sick of those two chords, do two other chords, maybe A to E. And if you isolate your chords and practice them either separately or in pairs initially, you're going to learn quicker. Okay? Be patient. It takes time. If you're getting frustrated, put the guitar away, come back to it later. Okay? Chances are it'll work better. So those are my basic thoughts on the basic chords, basic left hand rules. Good luck. Have fun.